right, you're watching the Power Hour. I'm your host, DJ Larry Jones, and today we'll be diving into the world of modern dating. In today's fast paced society, dating has become more complex than ever before. With so many apps, and websites, and social media platforms adding to the mix. Joining me today is Dr. Heather. Heather, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We're talking about dating today. I want to jump
Yes.
right. I want to jump right into this. Is it nowadays things are so much different? Like I said, with
Mhm.
online dating. Do you think it's better to find someone online versus meeting someone like, say, in a grocery store or wherever, or does it even matter?
So I think it doesn't matter where you meet them. I feel like it is easier to meet someone online just because it's more readily accessible. But you have to weed through a lot of people if you meet them online. But a lot of people are too shy to go up to people in the grocery store. So you often don't get introverts or shy people meeting people out and about more organically. So that can be a major problem for those type of people.
Right. And my thing is, and there are some success stories with people meeting online, dating online. You have people that's been married for years and years. But starting out, you run the risk of being catfished.
Yes.
Uh, it's getting now. You can say that meeting someone in person, we're only going to present the best version of ourselves in the beginning, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, what do you think about that, being catfished and all that crazy stuff online?
Yeah. So online catfishing is a major issue. And I've often heard it a lot from my guy friends that they're being catfished a lot online. Mainly with the women's side of it, I feel like just the pictures are older. So it's not representative of what they look like now or kind of like their physical physique right now. But it's a major issue because people often want connection really bad, but they're scared people aren't going to like them for who they are. But I think it's really good to just be genuine and upfront because people's taste is so just different
Yeah.
and has such a wide variety that you are going to attract somebody. You just want to make sure that you don't give a false impression to someone at first. Like someone's going to love you for who you are, but you have to make sure that you're attracting those people that would be interested in you, like basically personality and physically wise, because you do want physical attraction, but that's not everything, of course.
Yeah. I was going to say that. How important is physical attraction? I mean, people are actually, no one wants to go out with somebody that's not attractive, right?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
now, have you ever been catfished, or have you ever catfished someone?
I've never catfished someone, but I haven't catfished myself. And that's where I was saying how the pictures were older. The person just didn't look the same as they did before. Like they looked a bit older and they just weren't as fit as they kind of gave the impression of. That actually wasn't why we didn't continue dating. It was more of just the chemistry wasn't there, if that makes sense. It just was getting immediate friend vibes.
Okay, now you have to walk us through it. Okay, you meet the guy online, right?
Yeah.
Things are going well. You're on the phone. I
Mhm.
take it. You're getting to know each other. There comes a time where you say, "Okay, let's meet somewhere."
Mhm.
Okay, you met the guy, and what happened when you looked at him? What happened?
So I kind of knew that was him just based on obviously the height and hair color and everything, but I'm like, oh, he looks different. And so I still was kind of like, okay, well, to me, that kind of also is just a turn off because it can sometimes show that you're not really confident in how you look and
Yeah.
you're being a little bit dishonest up front. So that kind of is a little bit of okay, well, I'm going to kind of let that go, just talk to the person. And it was just that you could tell towards the end of the date that we were both kind of we're just here, but you could tell we're not interested in one another because we were just talking and we just wanted different things and we didn't really like have that romantic chemistry. We could talk really well and we can kind of fill the time and stuff like that. But it was like both of us knew this wasn't going anywhere. And so we are just like, okay, great. Like, when is this going to end? Sort of thing. Yeah.
Right. Now, I want to jump into communication and texting because a lot of times that's the main source of communication is text.
Mm-hmm.
No one
Yeah.
wants to call on the phone anymore and just
Mm-hmm.
sit up late nights. Like back in the day when I was coming up, you just be on the phone 1, 2 in the morning, yada yada yada. With texting being the primary mode of communication, it can be easy to misinterpret messages and create misunderstandings. And that leads to a lot of things, arguments, and so on and so forth. What do you think about communicating through text only? Someone wants to talk to you, and all they saying is, "Well, just text me." Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk on the phone. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so when it comes to that, I do feel like texting can cause a lot of arguments, especially in like early dating and even in relationships, because you don't understand the tone and how
Mhm.
people are portraying it. And the words, like, I often catch myself revising my text messages before I send them
Yeah,
to just make sure that they don't come off like different than how I'm portraying them. Like, if you want to come off more nice versus like something coming off aggressive. But I do feel like with today's day and age, we're almost like too go, go, go and busy that I get when people want to like text, but I don't think that anyone is too busy for like a short 5-minute phone call. And even if you want to prevent getting catfish, it's good to jump on a FaceTime. And if someone's like not willing to do that at all or has an excuse for that, then that can be a red flag that they're not who they say they are. And so it's always good to like have those safety measures in place before you go on a date with someone. So I do feel like it's important. And then if someone's really invested in you, they will make the time to have a phone call with you and FaceTime with you.
right. Now, what do you think? What do you think are the biggest challenges facing modern dating?
Yeah, so modern dating, obviously, it's all about pictures and things like that. A lot of people don't even read bios. So
Right.
it can come off initially very superficial. Like, people care what you look like initially. And then, like, after that, if you basically don't respond in time, it's like they move on to the next. It's very like immediate feedback. People are wanting that validation of an immediate response. Like, I've had people, I go to work and they're like, "Oh, great talk." And I'm like, "I'm at work. I don't like check my apps while I'm at work," and things like that. And so people just want that immediate validation, and if you don't give it, they're just moving on to the next person, and you might miss a lot of good connections because of that. And then people are kind of like looking at you like a checklist. Do you meet all
Mm,
the criteria? And then if you don't, like, it's super easy to just ghost people and move on to like your roster, basically.
yeah.
If you have like 10 people in your messages, it's like, all right, knock this one off. I got 9 more that I can go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just created that like where you can just move on so quick to the next. And it's just so accessible that it makes it hard to build like a deep connection with somebody because they might have all these other people in their lineup, basically.
Yeah. That's true. Now, how has technology affected dating in the recent years? I know a lot of times, with these apps they have out where you can fix your face up and make yourself look
Hmm.
like somebody you're not,
Yeah.
and then you see them in person and it just does not look the same, and that goes back
Hmm.
to almost being catfished.
Exactly.
What do you think about the apps and people using filters?
So I am not a filter person just because, like I mentioned before, like, you want to represent who you actually are. That's where I feel like you'll find the most genuine connection and someone who really just likes you for you. I think you should embrace being as natural as possible. And if you are someone that likes to like play around with AI or play around with filters and wear makeup, because makeup can be like a creative art for some people, like, I think it's just good to have a variety of pictures. So if you
Yeah.
do like doing that, maybe have an all natural photo or not edited pics so they have a good idea of the wide range of who you are as a person. You don't want to just use the technology and then someone to be disappointed or hurt you because you don't exactly represent what they were looking for.
Right, right. Now, have you noticed a shift in gender roles when it comes to dating?
Yes. So I feel like now there's not as much of those like kind of older gender roles where like women are in the kitchen, not working, stay at home moms, things like that. And then men are like the breadwinners and things like that. And unfortunately, am an example of that. Like, I don't mind being the breadwinner in a relationship. And I'm not saying like I want to have like a stay-at-home dad that I'm dating, but like I take a lot of pride in being financially independent. And so like I want someone who's okay with that and not threatened by that. And
Right.
I find that it's actually can be a little bit hard for me to find someone who's confident enough like in where they are and who they are, where like if I make a little bit more than you, what's the big deal? Like
Right.
I don't mind that. If you don't mind it, it's okay.
Right, right. Shout out to the women in this day and age, because a lot of women are self-sufficient and
Mhm.
they do have their own and can carry their own weight. So shout out to that right there. And some men are uncomfortable with it, but then you have some guys who, and I don't want to bash the fellas, but some guys just don't care and they just want to ride off of that and stay at home and play video games while she goes out to work. Um, you know, Now the pressure to portray a perfect life on social media can become a problem. You know, Everyone wants to compare their relationships to a seemingly perfect relationship, is
Mhm.
what they see online. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah. So for me, just in my experience, I often have noticed that people who are posting more online or posting more photos of themselves, trying to make themselves look happy, are often not the most happy in their own lives. They want to give that image of being happy. And it's there, the more you post sometimes is almost the opposite, that you're trying to portray that you're happy when you're really not, or you're trying to convince yourself you're happy by yourself or with a partner. And so oftentimes I know I'm getting more healthy and happy mentally when I'm not as kind of wrapped up in social media, or I'm not posting to try to get attention or things like that. Like I do like posting for big events like anniversaries, birthdays, and like obviously if people get engaged and married, that makes 100% sense. But like if you have to just post to like almost like be like, this is my person to kind of keep off people trying to like get at your partner, people worried that you guys are broken up, I just don't think that part of it is necessary.
Right. Now, when you're in a relationship and you're on social media, and I feel, I don't know, I may be wrong, but guys are in females' inboxes more than females and guys' inboxes. You're in a relationship and someone hits your inbox. How do you handle that? I mean, everyone handles it different. Some people cheat, some people don't. But how would you handle that? How should it be handled, I should say?
Yeah, so especially if it's someone I don't know, I just delete the message and don't even read it. And like depending on the content of the message, like if I actually read it or not, most of the time I'll read it because obviously, like with my business Instagram page, I need to check if it's someone like asking about that, or some people from my business will find my personal page, things like that. So I will most of the time read it, but if it's something like that's just too crazy out there, I just block immediately. Or if it's someone like that, I'll just delete it and not give it the time of day, because for me, it's just out of respect for my partner. And I've noticed when I often like have to let someone down easy or turn them down, I sometimes will get backlash for that. And so I just don't do that anymore because I just am like, well, hopefully silence is an answer in itself and they'll take that as a hint. And I've had people kind of fight at me being like, well, oh, you have a boyfriend, but who cares? I can still be in your life. Like we could just be friends. And I'm like, but your underlying goal is to
Build something.
get
Yeah.
at me, get in a
Yeah.
relationship. So are you just waiting around until me and my boyfriend are done or things like that?
Mm.
So I just, if the intention is definitely interested in me and I'm with someone, I just don't even give it the time of day out
Right.
of respect for my partner.
Right, right. Now, I've mentioned in the beginning that there have been success stories in online dating. I mean, people, and I've known some people. I've known some people personally who's been, married for years and they met
Mhm.
online. They said it was love at first sight. Do you believe in love at first sight? Or is that even a thing?
So I am a mix of that. Like I feel like I think you can like love the idea of a person at first sight. Like you're like, oh my gosh, that person's so attractive. But I feel like that again just goes off of someone's physical looks and not like their true personality and their intentions and who they are as a person. That like sometimes love at first sight is mainly based on how someone looks and their like physical appearance, and that's not what love is completely about. And so looks fade over time, and
Mm,
I've worked in the hospital that I'm like thinking in my head, who would I be wanting to be with if they were laying in the hospital right now and I couldn't really do anything with them, if I had to just come visit them every single day, who would I be willing to do that and like go through that experience with? And if they needed help the rest of their life and couldn't really do anything for me, who would I still be wanting around if that was the case?
right. Now, that's something to think about. Yeah, that's really something to
Mhm.
think about. Now, I mean, when you first meet someone online, right, or anywhere,
Mhm.
what should you look for? I mean, I know there's red flags. What should we be tuned into and paying most attention to in a person?
Yeah, I would definitely pay more attention to someone that doesn't seem like they're so wrapped up in their looks based on their photos. Like, and I know that can be hard to decide from because it's photo based, but also someone who put time and effort into their bio and who gives off the idea of they know what they want in life, like what they're looking for by being on the dating app. Because oftentimes the ones who are like, oh, I'm just like looking on here to see where it goes. Well,
Mm,
that can often lead to problems where you fall for someone and they're like, well, I'm not looking for anything serious. Tough luck. I'm sorry. So
yeah,
you want to know that someone is looking for exactly what you're looking for. Whether it's something casual or something serious, it's best to like look for that first. And then also, if someone's just more open minded and not like super aggressive towards one thing, like some people will be like, on the dating apps, I'm not going to spend all my time talking on here. I want to meet instantly. And it's like, I like to form connections with people before I meet with them in person because time wise, I'm not going to be able to meet every single person I match with. So I think it's just anyone who has really strong opinions about that, they are a little bit more desperate, and it can be a form of them trying to push things too fast and they might not respect your boundaries. So that can be something you don't want.
right. Should we be 100% transparent right from the start? Just put everything out on the table. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. If you can't, you know what I mean, then I'm out of here.
I think it is good to be transparent up front because, like, I've had people not be open with me about being previously married or having a kid. And for some people, that can make a huge difference. And for me, like, honesty is a big part of what I want in a relationship. So if you've like hidden something for me on purpose already, that's a red flag for me. But it's good to be as open and transparent as possible. And you're probably going to weed out the people that don't really know what they want as well, because then you'll have them kind of like fight back a little bit. Because when I tell people on dating apps that I'm looking for something serious and can lead to like a long-term relationship,
Yeah.
I've gotten backlash where people think I want to get married like tomorrow. And it's like, no, I'm too indecisive for that. I won't even be able to decide if I want to still hang out with you after 3 to 5 dates.
Right.
So, like, but because I know what I want, I sometimes it intimidates people like that. I'm like wanting to tie someone down right away. And it's like, no, I've never lived with someone before. Like, I haven't been engaged. So it's not like I'm trying to do that very quickly. I want to be sure about somebody in that situation.
Right. And I was going to get to that. Really hitting it off with someone and wanting to get to know the person. Now, let's just say if they're long distance and they're a few states away, a few hours away, whatever the case may be, what's the longest wait time a person should wait? I mean, should they wait as long as possible to see if it works and just talk on the phone for a while before they decide to meet and make a decision? How should that work in a long distance situation?
Yeah, I think it depends on a lot of different factors. It depends on the two people because some people are so busy with their own lives that they aren't really going out or meeting new people where that like isn't really threatened of them like cheating or finding someone else, if that makes sense. And then also like I think financially it can be a big issue too. Like if it's where you have to fly to see them or like you have to take off a lot of work to go see them, that can impact it. And then also like some people have very specific reasons why they can't meet. Like if they're in like a really hardcore like med school program or something like that, you might not have the days off because sometimes they get like one day off in like 3 weeks and they're working crazy. So it is person to person, but I do think you do want to make an effort to at least like meet up in the first few months when you're trying to get to know someone to see if it's going to work out and see if you want to continue this. And then like if it does work out, you guys can decide if you want to keep doing long distance or see if there's a way that you guys can end up being in the same city or at least same state, a few cities away. That's going to work for the long-term goals of both people.
Right. How has the definition of commitment changed in modern dating?
Yeah. So modern dating, I feel like commitment back when like my parents got married and things like that, like when you back then it was kind of like when you got married for life. You didn't really get divorced or things like that. And so I feel like commitment's a little bit more loose now. And so like more people are often willing to give up on commitments if they see one thing wrong. And I do feel like communication is an issue where people aren't willing to communicate through their issues to work on that commitment long term. And some people aren't willing to like go to couples therapy or go to individual therapy to work on themselves, to work on the relationship as a whole. And so I feel like the commitment can often be like it's the grass is greener on the other side. And so people think they're looking at other people, looking at social media, and they think that, oh, well, I don't have it as good as that person. I want that. And so they often are, instead of watering the grass of where they're at, they often jump on to the next thing and realize that they're just as unhappy with the thing they thought they wanted. And really, they just needed to give more attention and effort into what they had to make it what their
Right.
goal was, what they wanted.
Right. Right. I believe you're absolutely right. I believe today's generation, they're just not going to tolerate nonsense. You mess up
Yeah.
one time, that's it. You're out of there. The relationship's
Mhm.
over, and they're on to someone else. And then in some cases, rightfully so. But
Definitely.
if you really love that person, you'll work it out and work through it, depending on what it is they did. We can talk
Mhm.
about this all day long. We have to do a part two on this.
Yeah.
Definitely have to do a part two on this. Dr. Heather, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. You're watching the Power Hour right here on Soul TV.
Thank you so much.
The Power Hour is brought to you by Soul TV.